We live in a fascinating world, surrounded by things in which we don't yet understand. A world where the tide is controlled by an astral body, enveloped in the macro and micro nature of this universe. The very thing which fuels us, consciousness, we don't yet understand. Another thing in which we don't understand is psychedelic substances. But what is a psychedelic? And what is a psychedelic's potential? Psychedelics have been a part of human history for hundreds of thousands of years. We are finding that psychedelics are far more beneficial than we were once told. But what exactly is a psychedelic? And what do they do?
What is a psychedelic? Interesting question.
A psychedelic?
A psychedelic? Well, I first think of LSD, and then I think of really wonderful patterns.
It's like a substance that, changes your perception.
I'm scared I'm going to sound like some kind of 70s conspiracist.
Go on.
Like it unlocks the higher part of your brain.
A psychedelic is a mind-bending, enhancing drug.
I don't know, I've never tried psychedelics.
It makes you be able to unlock and think about things that you wouldn't necessarily have done before, or even thought to have done before. Yeah, I think it's a really healing thing.
So they are researching at the moment how they can use psilocybin in meds. And I think it's quite interesting because I know people that they have been experimenting with mushrooms and they have sometimes depression or anxiety and it's coming down.
Classic psychedelics are substances that are active at the serotonin 2A receptor. So those are things like psilocybin, magic mushrooms, DMT, LSD and mescaline as well. That stimulates the cascade effect within the brain. Studies from Imperial that have looked at neuroimaging, they've done functional MRI scans. The one thing that they've noticed is that regions of the brain that don't typically communicate with one another start communicating with each other. So I suppose things open up within the brain. People can make different connections that they don't normally make or don't normally see. My name is Jacob Hawthorne and I am a psychiatry doctor working in addictions in NHS Lothian. I've been involved with PHP, the Psychedelic Health Professionals Network, since October 2020. I'm in the process of training as a facilitator, so one thing that we do is offer legal psilocybin retreats in the Netherlands for people from the UK. I'm involved in the education side of it as well, so PHP, we're in the process of applying to become an educational charity. And that's one of the major sort of aims or goals of PHP is to, as best we can, to educate the public, to inform the public, and also to inform colleagues, fellow health professionals, doctors, nurses, therapists, counsellors, psychologists, about psychedelic assisted therapy, because I think that's one thing that comes out of polls, that people are open to psychedelic research, psychedelic assisted therapy, but feel that they don't know very much about it.
It's clear that under the right circumstances, psychedelics could be beneficial, but could they be a cure for the current mental health crisis?
When I see headlines saying that psychedelics are the answer to the mental health crisis, always sort of, that doesn't quite sit right. I don't think that any treatment is going to be the answer to the mental health crisis. I don't think we're going to tackle the mental health crisis without huge sort of systemic societal changes around sort of trying to redress inequality, poverty, deprivation, lack of employment, lack of purpose. I think that even if psychedelic therapy worked for 100% of people, which I think even the most enthusiastic advocate would acknowledge is probably not likely to happen, the way our society is today, it creates creates mental illness at a greater rate than we can treat it. Illness is a normal reaction to an abnormal situation, and I'd say that sort of our society is an abnormal situation that produces a lot of anxiety, depression, trauma, addiction issues. Not to shift responsibility, I think the mental health crisis is well beyond the sort of the remit of mental health services, of psychiatry, of psychologists, but I definitely think that psychedelic assisted therapy could be a huge part of helping to redress that. It sort of comes down to how psychedelic assisted therapy, how psychedelics become incorporated. If they're just seen as another medical treatment, another sort of pharmaceutical cure whereby you have an illness, you go to your doctor, you get diagnosed and you get referred for this thing. I think that'll be a huge step. I'd love to be able to prescribe and offer psychedelic assisted therapy, but I think that if it just gets sort of swallowed up into the existing pharmaceutical paradigm, then it will make a big difference, but I don't think it will fully tackle the mental health crisis.
Although not yet legalised, psychedelics have been helping people all around the world. This is one of those people.
PrePsychedelics, mostly engineering, obviously military and deployed to Afghanistan. So in Afghanistan, we went out in a forward reconnaissance role. It was in an area called Garmazir in southern Helmand province. It was very kinetic. There was a lot of fighting going on. We would offer support. We would, push into other areas to push Taliban back. It was a long tour. Long tour. I experienced everything. Human loss greatly. All the worst things of war, down to children in pieces. I got blown up myself, shot at countless times. The things that, I'm not really going to go into too much detail here, but it was a tough talk. And then obviously getting blown up wasn't something that disappeared quickly. I ended up getting medically discharged from the army, hearing loss down my left-hand side, and PTSD. Once I was home, again, my PTSD would be 1 weekend a month, and then maybe 2 big crashes a year, which would last 2 or 3 weeks. Usually kind of crisis team would be out somewhere or another. Very, very dark suicidal thoughts. I had a massive crash in June 2015, I think it was. Nothing really brought it on, it just happened. And I was bedridden for 3 weeks. And I think that one just took the will to live out of me. And I knew then that there wasn't many of them left. It really wasn't. And I could just feel it coming. I could just feel it coming. And no matter what I did, I wasn't drinking. I could just feel a depression building. And then, in November, it finally hit. And I drove out with the dogs, and we went over to Lulworth Cove, and I was just going to jump off the cliff, and for some reason, huskies are not loyal dogs at all, but one of them just wouldn't move, just sat with me. And so we ended up driving home, and I think a friend phoned me, so I told her, and obviously next thing I know, the crisis team were all out, blah blah blah, and mates at the end of my bed, and so I spoke to a mate about. I was like, look, I've kind of found this article that it says it might help, and I was like, I can't go through that again. It's like, try it. Managed to get magic truffles sent over, so sclerosis that grew under the ground, and I managed to get them sent over to this country, and obviously it was illegal. It's a Class A drug that was importing, but it's this isn't difficult, you know. And it turned up, and I told one of my best friends, and he was like, I'm just down the road. And so I've got no experience with any of this, and I've not really got any friends that have got kind of experience with this, but I've got nothing else left to try, so I'm going to try it. At that point, you would kind of trip out on the trip start, and you see all the pretty colours and all of that. It's fantastic. But just as you're kind of hitting the peak of the trip, or just behind it, bam, it'll take you back into experiences. So for me, it threw me back onto the battlefield. It was stuff that I started doubting myself about. And mostly I kind of see myself floating above the situation, but I was just reliving the situation from a different perspective. So my vehicle became a rear vehicle. And as we drove past, someone had hooked a donkey up to an IED on a command wire, because we had electronic counter warfare to stop them using remote controls and telephones to set bombs off. And yeah, they obviously used the donkey to elevate it. I was top gunning that day. And yeah, 40 kilograms of explosives went off a metre away from me. I remember being engulfed in a fireball in a split second, and obviously then the pressure wave kind of hit me, and I don't remember a lot. I remember hanging onto a 50 cal, cocking it, just looking for anything that was going to be firing at me, trying to comprehend all this blood that was covered in. And all I could taste and smell was blood and burning. And just then it'd be like, actually, you did nothing wrong. Everything you did there was perfect. So right, you can let that one go. Afterwards, it was like someone had gone in and turned a valve and emptied all the crap out of my mind, all the anxiety, everything that was stressing me out. And I was just like, don't know what's gone on. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to think. And I remember later on that day, or maybe the day after, just going to a local pub with my friend and trying to talk it through. I was like, this just happened. And I was like, it's like a weight has been taken off of my shoulder. I've just gone back and relived a situation in Afghanistan that has obviously been plaguing me. And now it's like it's gone. You know, it's a nice memory now. Well, not a nice memory, but it's a good memory. And if I can honestly say, you know, with my hand on my heart, I've not had a breakdown since. You know, I've had no massive suicidal 2 or 3 week depressions. I still have the odd day here and now. You know, I'm human. I'm not going to say it's, you know, it's a magical thing. But I don't get a depression every single month. I don't get 2 or 3 massive breakdowns every single year. Dates don't seem to plague me anymore, or not as much. And some of that will be because of time. Time heals. But to be so close and to have given up on trying to live because it's so bad, to then all of a sudden it's just hope. Waiting, you know, when's it going to come? And it was this newfound freedom. It was fantastic, and it changed my life. It saved my life.
Recent scientific research has shown similar results. We're getting closer and closer to adopting psychedelics as a therapeutic tool within our societies. It is time that we have the discussion, time that we inform ourselves and educate others. It's time that we frame psychedelics in an honest and non-biased light. It's time that we face the psychedelic potential of the future.